Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So today we will continue our discussion of the Nectar of Instruction. We will be doing text 9. Vaikuntha janito vara madhupuri tatrapi rasotsava Vrindaranayam udarapani ramana tatrapi govardhana Radha kundamihapi gokulpate Pemamrita plavana Kuryadasya virajato giritate Sevam vivekena kaha. The holy place known as Mathura is spiritually superior to Vaikuntha, the transcendental world, because the Lord appeared there. Superior to Mathurapuri is the transcendental forest of Vrindavan because of Krishna's Ras Leela pastimes. And superior to the forest of Vrindavan is Govardhan Hill, for it was raised by the divine hand of Sri Krishna and was the site of his various loving pastimes. And above all, the super excellent Sri Radha Kunda stands supreme, for it is overflooded with the ambrosial nectarian prema of the Lord of Gokul, Sri Krishna. Where then is that intelligent person who is unwilling to serve this divine Radha Kund, which is situated at the foot of Govardhan Hill? In the previous verse, the stage of Raghunag Sadhana Bhakti was introduced, where from Vaidhi Sadhana, according to rules and regulation, the transition was Raga, more spontaneous, still following, still under the guidance of the Ragatmikas, but the mood is now more spontaneous. Rupa Goswami at the end of the verse 8 had also said Iti Upadeśāmṛta, that this is the essence or the Amrit of the Upadeśāmṛta. So after giving the essence, what further remains to be said? Right? So essentially in these three verses, 9, 10 and 11, the results of following the essence, the results of following the Upadeśāmṛta is given. So it does not introduce a new topic per se. It just is expanding on more details of the essence. So the essence was one should think 24 hours about Krishna. One should aspire to live in Vrindavan under the guidance of an advanced perfected soul. Right. So that is indeed the Upadeśāmṛta. Now, what happens there? What are the subsequent stages of development that happens? Those are given in these three verses, right? So why is that distinction? So does it mean that these verses are not the essence because the essence has already been given? So not really. So we understood that at this stage of advancement, the devotee is making advancements mostly because of the mercy of Krishna. So whereas in the initial verses, Rupa Goswami is giving instructions to the devotees. Do this, do not do this. Control your speech. Do not eat too much. This is how you associate, right? So this is activities on that the devotee with an aspiration to advance should engage in. However, at this stage, most of the advancement is coming by the mercy of Krishna. The devotee is positioning himself properly to be the recipient of that mercy. So that is why it is an expansion of this. And just like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives the confidential knowledge. He said, having known this, there is nothing better to know. And then he says, I will give you more confidential knowledge. In the 10th chapter, he gives, I will give you even more confidential. 12th chapter, he says, I will give you the most confidential knowledge, right? And he keeps giving the same adjectives, that after this you don't need to know more. But the understanding is that they are refinements of the essential knowledge that Krishna is given. Rupa Goswami also makes this point that advancement at the stages that are given in these verses are very, very rare. So, summary that in verse 8, there was the devotee still in the stage of sadhana, right? So he's at the stage of asakti or ragunag sadhana bhakti, the topmost stage, the most advanced stage in sadhana, but yet in the sadhana stage. Verses 9 and 11 will speak about bhava and prema stage, right? So there it is practice spontaneity, spontaneous devotional service that is practiced. Here it is actual spontaneous devotional service that is naturally happening. So in the 8th verse, Rupa Goswami has said Tishtan Braje, that one should aspire to live in Braja. So this verse gives us a description of Braj. What are the holy places and what are their special characters? Right? So this verse also answers the question, how does a Raghunatha Bhakta makes further progress? Right? So essentially text 9 describes the hierarchy of the different regions of the Lord's creation with Radha Kund as the topmost place. So Srila Prabhupada's purport systematically talks about the 5 places that are mentioned in this verse. Vaikuntha, Mathura, Vrindavan, Govardhan Hill and Radha Kund. And this is the hierarchy. That Vaikuntha is in the spiritual world. It is higher than the material world, Devi Dham, right? And then higher than Vaikuntha is the material world, is Mathura in the material world, right? And this is what we'll study, that after having said that Vaikuntha is higher than the whole material existence, and within the material existence is the earth planet, and within that earth planet is a tract of land called Mathura. So having already said that Vaikuntha is higher than by transitivity Mathura, then Rupa Goswami is now saying, but Mathura is higher than Vaikuntha. So these 4 places, Mathura, Vrindavan, Govardhan Hill and Radha Kund, they refer to places in existence in the material world. And the hierarchy is established over here, right? There's Mathura, Vrindavan, are the 12 forests of Vrindavan, Govardhan Hill, the famous hill that we circumambulate, and Radha Kund is at the foot of the Govardhan Hill, right? And we will go into details for each of these 5 places. So just to establish context in the Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma says, Goloka namne nijadham nitale chatasya Devi Mahesha Haridham Eshute Shute Te Te Prabhav Nichaya Vihitish Chayena Govindamadi Purusham Tamam Bhajami. So Lord Brahma, looking down from his position at the topmost planet in the material world, he says that the lowest is Devi Dham. So Devi Dham is where we are situated, the whole material universe, right? Not just one universe, but all the universes in the material world is Devi Dham. They are under the jurisdiction of Durga Devi or Maya Devi. Now above it is Mahesh Dham, right? And Mahesh Dham is the abode of Lord Shiva, and technically Lord Shiva has 2 abodes. One is one is within the material world and the other is between the material and the spiritual world in the Brahma Jyoti, but it is higher than Devi Dham. Then above the Mahesh Dham is Hari Dham. Hari Dham is essentially Vaikuntha, right? And above Vaikuntha is Golok, right? So this is the hierarchy given by Brahma. There is the material world. Above the material world is Lord Shiva's abode. Above Lord Shiva's abode is Vaikuntha. Above Vaikuntha is Golok. Right. So this is pictorial representation. Yeah. At the lowest is Devi Dham, then is Mahesh Dham, which, like I said, is divided into the Mahakal Lok and Sadashiv Lok. We'll not go into details. This is a whole separate discussion. Then there is Hari Dham, which is Vaikuntha, and then at the topmost is Golok Dham, which is further divided into Golok, Mathura, and Dwarka. Right. So this hierarchy we can keep in mind. Okay. So the Devi Dham is completely within the material world. The Mahesh Dham is within the material world but in the upper regions, and then in the Brahma Jyoti is the abode of Sadashiv, right? So above the Devi Dham. So it is said that the Sadashiv, as a service to Krishna, he resides in the Brahma Jyoti and he preaches to those who have taken impersonal liberation. So they are hanging around in the Brahma Jyoti, not doing much, and Lord Shiva is compassionate to those who have fallen the most. He preaches to them to take to devotional service, right? And above that is the spiritual world composed of Vaikuntha, and right at the top is Krishna's personal abode, Golok Dham. So this is the order of the realms, right? There is the material world, Sadashiv, Vaikuntha, and Golok. So here we see that Vaikuntha is higher than the Devi Dham, and this verse includes the earthly regions also in the hierarchy. So whereas Vaikuntha is in the spiritual world, Mathura, Vrindavan, Govardhan, and Radhakund are on the earth planet, right? And yet we say that they are higher than the Vaikuntha, and this is because even though they are in the material world, they are considered to be extensions of their spiritual counterparts, right? So the Mathura that is on the earth planet is not different from the Mathura that is in the abode of Krishna, right? Similarly for Vrindavan, Govardhan, and Radhakund. Prabhupada explains it with an analogy of countries and embassies. He says that in the country may be India, but there may be an US embassy, and the US embassy is considered to be non-different from US. Like it's within the embassy they enjoy diplomatic immunity. Right? It is almost like it is US soil, even though it is within the country of India. So Prabhupada uses the same to explain that these dhams, even though they are within the material world, they are extensions of the original spiritual, and that's how we can understand this hierarchy. So such places are manifestations or extensions of the spiritual world, and they manifest by the will of the Lord. So Krishna desires it for his pastimes. He desires that the spiritual Vrindavan appears within the material world. He desires that it appears at a certain place, and by his will they appear. So Vrindavan, Mayapur, Jagannath Puri, Dwarka, they are all considered to be eternally spiritual places, dhamas, that appear in the material world to facilitate the divine pastimes and to have sincere souls make advancement. In the Padma Purana it is said, dhamastu shuddha sattvasya, that these dhams are shuddha sattva. So they are transcendental to the three modes. They are made of pure spiritual energy and not matter, because that is what the original dhams in the spiritual world are made of. Right? So they are not different from the counterparts in the spiritual world. Right? So for example, it is said Vrindavan Parityajya padam ekam na gacchati. That Krishna never takes a step outside Vrindavan. In the Padma Puran, it is said. So when Krishna is in Vrindavan, in Bhaumya, whether Krishna is in Goloka, they are the same. Now, one may say that I can catch a train or I can drive into Vrindavan. Right? But whereas for me to go to Golok Vrindavan, I have to perfect my devotional life over many, many lifetimes. So how can you say that they are non-different? So they are different and non-different at the same time, right? So the difference comes because of our conception. That if we consider Vrindavan to be material, then Krishna drops the curtain of Maya over the spiritual Vrindavan and it becomes material. The Vrindavan is full of dirt and there are pigs and hogs and there is all the stuff that goes on in Vrindavan. When we consider it to be a city close to Delhi in India, that's how the Dham responds. And if you look at it from the vision of Srila Rupa Goswami, then that curtain is lifted. And then we see Vrindavan full of Chintamani stones, full of Kalpavriksha trees, with the Nitya Siddha serving Krishna in exactly the same place. Right? So Prabhupada in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says that Vrindavan is always spiritual. That is the difference between spiritual and material worlds. In the spiritual world, everything is spiritual. In the material world, everything is material. Right? So even when the spiritual world manifests in the material world, it still stays spiritual. In Adi Leela 523, said through this arrangement, the land of Raj manifested on earth. Vrindavan is the eternal abode where Radha and Krishna enjoy their pastime. There's this mention that when the time came for Krishna to descend, then Srimati Radharani said, I'll descend, but only on the condition that along with me, Vrindavan comes with its 12 forests, Yamuna comes, and the Vrajrati and the dust of Vrindavan comes. So Krishna, in order to satisfy Srimati Radharani by his spiritual energy, he extended the spiritual Vrindavan into the material realm. Now, the nature of spiritual existence is that it is not destroyed with time. And the question comes that if it is in the material world, we know that the material world goes through the cycles of dissolution. Right? There is the pralaya, the mahapralaya. There are different forms of destruction that happen at the end of each Chatur Yuga, at the end of each Kalpa, at the end of the day of Brahma. And then there is complete destruction that happens at the end of the life of Brahma. So what happens to these dhams? And the Acharyas say they continue to exist. They continue to exist, but in a subtle platform under the protection of Krishna's internal energy. Right? Same example is that of the planet of Dhruv Maharaj. So when Krishna gave him an eternal resident in the Dhruvaloka, he said it will not be destroyed when the material world is destroyed. So then what happens to it? Same thing. That it exists in the subtle realm by the energy of Krishna and then it manifests again. So while they are same, there is also some difference. Like one obvious difference is that, or one similarity that has been emphasized is that Bhaumya Vrindavan is non-different from Golok Vrindavan, right? But there are some differences for the pleasure of the Lord and his devotees. In the spiritual world, Krishna is eternally Navyovan. He is a 16-year-old youth. There is no pastime of Krishna taking birth. There is no Bal Leela. There is no Keshwari Leela. There is only the youthful pastimes of Krishna. Krishna doesn't get old also, right? He is eternally 16-year-old. But in Bhaumya Vrindavan, there is Krishna Janmashtami. Krishna takes birth, he learns how to walk, he's crawling, he learns how to stand, he's eating mud. So he's going through that phase that is not there in the spiritual Vrindavan, right? So that is why it is said when Krishna did his pastimes in Vrindavan, then all the demigods and Brahma and even the residents of the spiritual planet, they were anxious to see, because these are pastimes that are not even available in the spiritual world. So in a way it is said that Bhami Vrindavan is even more superior to that in the spiritual world, because Krishna displays more pastimes over here. So for instance, in Vrindavan there are demons. Right? There is Putana and Aghasur and Bakasur. Krishna kills those demons. There are no demons in the spiritual world for obvious reasons. They are all perfected souls. So then how do these pastimes happen? Right? Jiva Goswami says that while there are no demons, there is a sense of demons. Right? There is a sense that Keshi has come. So there is no Keshi. Right? But under the curtain of Yogamaya, Krishna's spiritual energy, the residents are like, oh, there is a demon, there is Keshi, Krishna come protect, etc. But in Bhami Vrindavan, these pastimes are enacted fully. There is actually Keshi that comes as a horse. There is actually a wrestling match that goes on. In Golok Vrindavan, the moods like the Parakriya Bhava is love outside marriage, Vipralamba is separation, they are there as part of the Nitya Leela, but they are not caused by time or space. So when Krishna leaves Vrindavan, then the gopis go into Vipralamba Bhava, separation, right? And what is the cause of that separation? That Krishna has moved from point A to point B. He was in Vrindavan, he traveled out of Vrindavan, went to Mathura and then Dwarka. Right? In the spiritual world, Krishna does not do that. He does not travel from point A to point B, yet there is that sense of Vipralamba Bhav that even though Krishna is there, gopis and Radharani are feeling separation, right? So all this is created by the potency of Yogamaya. Another difference is the Bhami Dhamas, they, while they are eternal, they are materially manifest and unmanifest, right? According to the Leela of Krishna. In Golok, the Dhams are eternally manifest. They are in the spiritual world. And most importantly for us, the Bhami Dhamas are a lot more merciful than Golok Dhama, right? We cannot go to Golok Vrindavan, but we can go to Bhami Vrindavan, right? Now we may not be able to see it as Golok Vrindavan, but we can cultivate that mood, right? That is the essence of this verse. That by Krishna's mercy, the topmost residence in the spiritual planet has been made available in the material world, easy access. So Rupa Goswami says, who will not take advantage of that mercy? For us to reach Golok Vrindavan, who knows how many lifetimes? Who knows how much of anarthas we have that we have to nivrit to make advancements, right? But what is the cost of going to Bhami Vrindavan? Some time, some money, and a lot of faith. So we can go to Vrindavan or any dham and we can see it as a material place, as I mentioned, crowded, hot, dirty, etc. But we can also see it by the eyes of the scriptures. Here, of course, very, very briefly, Rupa Goswami is there, but there are other books that describe in great, great details the position of Vrindavan, dhams, the pastimes that are happening. So by the Shastra Chakshu, we can see the spiritual aspect of the material dham, right? Still, sensory perception, right? We still go by eyes, but we see it from, we see our eyes, we put on the glasses of the scriptures on the eyes. And ultimately we pray for spiritual revelation, right? Because the dham is non-different from Krishna. He can choose to reveal himself, he can choose to hide himself. So now let's understand the order of superiority that Rupa Goswami says. So he says the order is Vaikuntha Mantra, Vrindavan, Govardhan and Radha Kund, right? So the superiority is that of the mood of intimacy. In Vaikuntha, the mood is Aishwarya, right? Aishwarya, which manifests as either Shanta or Dasya. Right? Primary is Dasya, that there's a lot of the strong mood of service. Lakshmi ji serving Lord Vishnu, massaging his feet, all the residents over there, one way of this. Even if there is Sakhyaras, it is in the mood of Aishwarya. Even if there is Madhurya Ras between Lakshmi Devi and Lord Vishnu, still in the mood of Aishwarya, of awe and reverence. Now, what Rupa Goswami is saying, that the superiority is based on how the moods become more and more intimate. So the more intimate the mood is, the dham is more superior. Like, a grandson may see his grandfather sitting as a judge in the court, right? And at that time, he has to treat him with whatever the court decorum is. And the same grandfather, when he comes to the house, now the grandson jumps on his shoulder, makes him a horse, and rides his back. So same grandfather, same son. In court, different mood. In the house, different mood. As far as the son and the grandfather is concerned, the house is a superior place because more intimate. They can have fun, they can laugh, they can wrestle. So the superiority is of the intimacy of the mood. So Prabhupada mentioned that Vaikuntha is Tripada Vibhuti. Right? So here he's talking about the material world and the spiritual world. Right? Talking more generally. So this Vaikuntha in this case also includes Golok, the whole 3/4 of the spiritual. This is a general description of the spiritual world. But in the Haridham, Narayan is worshipped with Aishwarya Bhav. It is superior to Devi Dham and Mahesh Dham. Right? We saw that. In the Bhagavatam it is said, in that place Vaikuntha, the illusory energy Maya cannot enter. There the Lord is worshipped by both demigods and demons who become purified. Now obviously there are no demigods and demons in Vaikuntha, but who used to be demigods and demons, but once they are purified, they enter Vaikuntha in their spiritual form and they worship the Lord. So Vaikuntha has unlimited planets. And that's one thing about Krishna, everything is unlimited. Even though the material world is 1/4, that is infinite. It's like you have infinity, 3/4 of infinity is infinity, 1/4 of infinity is also infinity. And within the 3/4 there is Vaikuntha, that is also infinity. The Vaikuntha is presided by the four-armed form of Lord Vishnu. And it's said that in the Vaikuntha, the topmost planet is Ayodhya. Right? So we said there is Vaikuntha, above Vaikuntha is Golok. So Golok is Krishna's realm. And Ayodhya is, and Vaikuntha is the realm of Lord Vishnu or Lord Narayan. The topmost planet in the Vaikuntha is Lord Ram. And again, because of the mood, that in Ayodhya, the mood of Aishwarya is there, but also there is a very strong mood of Madhurya, Vatsalya, Sakhya. They are also prominent over there, right? So that's why Ayodhya and the planet of Lord Ram is the highest, right? So all the rasas up to Madhurya exist in Vaikuntha, but covered by Aishwarya. Now let's talk about Mathura, that is now within in the material world. Rupa Goswami says it is spiritually superior to Vaikuntha. Why? Because it is the place of appearance of the Lord. So we know in Mathura, Kamsa had imprisoned Vasudeva Devaki, and Krishna appears over there, right? So in Vaikuntha, Krishna never takes birth. Lord Vishnu never takes birth. Right? We never see any pastimes of Lord Vishnu as a child, right? He's always the personality of Godhead. Right? But in Mathura, we have this pastime of Lord Krishna appearing, and he appears as the Adipurush. So Adipurush is the source of all the four-armed incarnations that preside over the planets in Vaikuntha. So we see that even though the mood is in Mathura is predominantly Aishwarya, but the other moods are also strong. Right? So we see the pastime in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, that when Krishna appears, he comes in the four-armed form, and he's elaborately dressed, with all the paraphernalia of Lord Vishnu, and he's telling Devaki and Vasudeva, don't worry about it. Right? He said, look at me, I'm God. You think Kamsa can do anything? And while they understand, so we see Devaki and Vasudeva, they're praying, they have their hands folded, right? That never happens in Vrindavan, right? When Krishna shows a universal form, then Mother Yashoda, she thinks that some spirit has gone into him, right? So she takes the cow tail and cow urine and puts it on him, right? That mood of Aishwarya, it can never stabilize. It comes and goes fleetingly. But here it is Aishwarya, but it also gets interrupted. Right? So Vasudeva Devaki are seeing Krishna as Lord Vishnu, but then Devaki is also trying to hide Krishna, Lord Vishnu, saying Kamsa will come and he will kill you. Because that Vatsalya Bhav is also strong. Right? As a mother, while she recognizes this is the personality of Godhead, but the mood of Vatsalya is strong. And that's why Krishna says, okay, don't worry, have your husband take me to across the Yamuna river. Right? So that is why Mathura is considered to be superior to Vaikuntha. That this pastime would never exist in Vaikuntha. Right? So it's a mixture of Vatsalya and Aishwarya. Now Vrindavan and Govardhan. So the 12 forests of Vrindavan are superior because of the various childhood pastimes. Also, as Rupa Goswami says, because of the Rasa Leela, right? In the 12 forests, each of these 12 forests at different times, Krishna enacts the Rasa Leela. So all the rasas are over here, and they are without any trace of opulence. Right? Everybody knows that Krishna is God. Nobody cares over there that Krishna is God. For somebody, he's a friend. Somebody, he's a lover. For somebody, his son. Those are the prominent mood. Right? The rasas. So even the Rupa Goswami says that Vrindavan is higher because of the Rasa Leela over there, and there are Radha Krishna pastimes. But Krishna is a child over there. In a village, if there is a child, almost everybody will treat the child as their own child. Right? Especially even now, you'll see in villages where there is some glimpses of Vedic tradition there. There is this Gramya sense, this sense of a village family. That children from one house will go to another, they will eat in another house, they will sleep in a third house. In the fourth house, they will chastise the child, they will get angry on the child, and even though they are different houses, that child is the child for everybody. Right? So Krishna in Vrindavan, he is small, and there is strong Vatsalya Bhav. And there is also, Krishna has friends, so there is Sakhya, Krishna has servants, there is Vatsal, there is Dasya, and Krishna has the Rasalila pastime. There is the Madhurya there. Now, Vrindavan is considered to be more superior because all these rasas, they are even more concentrated over there, right? So, Srila Prabhupada says that it provides the setting for so many pastimes of Krishna with the Gopa and the gopis. So the Govardhan is non-different from Krishna and serves Krishna in so many ways. Right? It creates the caves by which Krishna can play with his friends. It creates the kunjas where Krishna and Radharani can have intimate pastimes. It creates a place for the cows to graze. So all the rasas are concentrated with their sweetness in Govardhan. And Govardhan is personally raised by the lotus hand of Krishna. That makes it even more special. Prabhupada says here Krishna massages the feet of Lord Balaram. Krishna expands to interact personally with the Gopas. So intimate, concentrated pastimes, That's why Rupa Goswami says that higher than Mathura is Vrindavan, higher than Vrindavan is Govardhan. And finally there is Radhakund. So Radhakund is liquid prema, Prabhupada says. Prema is the most concentrated form of bhakti. Like when bhav becomes super concentrated, it is prema. And if the prema becomes a liquid, it is the water of Radhakund. Right? So in the pastime of the appearance of Radhakund, we know that Radhakund was created by Srimati Radharani and the gopis. It was actually initially called Kanchan Kund because they broke their bangles. So Krishna had created Sham Kund and he had invited all the tirthas in the entire universe to come in Sham Kund. Right? And this is after Krishna had killed Arishtasur. He was a demon who had come in the form of a bull. Right? And the gopis said, "You are a cow killer. So please don't touch us." And Krishna said, "You have to be serious. Not a cow, it was a demon." Right? But the gopis, they were having this pastime. They said, "No, you stay away from us." So then Krishna says, how can I rectify? So then the gopis consult and they say that you go over the entire universe, take bath in all the holy places, and then we will consider. But Krishna says, I don't have time to do that, but I will invite all the holy places. All the holy places in the universe came and manifested in Sham Kund. Krishna took a bath and after that he started boasting that now I'm pure. You are the people, you are the ones who are contaminated, you stay away from me. So Radharani and Gopi got upset. So with the bangles they started digging, and as they dug more and more, they made this kunda, they made this hole right next to Sham Kund, right? And then they started getting the water of Yamuna. They made a line and by golden pots they were taking the water. And then Krishna initially was teasing them, but then he saw how Radharani was sweating, the gopis were sweating. And then Krishna said, "Allow me to fill the kunda with the water from my kunda," right? And initially Radharani says no, and then Krishna manages to appease her. She agrees. So then with this flute, Krishna makes a hole between Sham Kund and Radha Kund, and all the water of Sham Kund also comes into Radha Kund. And after that, Krishna takes bath in it, and he gives this benediction that anybody who takes in bath with Radha Kund with a proper conception will get the prem bhav that Srimati Radharani has. Right? That's why Radha Kund is considered to be the topmost place, right? Because Radharani is the Ujjwal Rasa, right? She is the topmost devotee of Krishna, representing Mahabhav, right? There is no contamination, within quotes, right? There is no contamination of any other rasas. There is no Aishwarya Bhav, there is no Vatsalya, there is no Dasya. It is pure Madhurya Ras. And Krishna personally says, topmost place, right? He gives this benediction to Krishna. And when Krishna comes again as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he once again re-establishes Radha Kund, because over time Radha Kund was mostly lost. Like it became a small pond, and said only a few very, very exalted souls knew the existence of Radha Kund. But Mahaprabhu was merciful, so he said, okay, this is Radha Kund, this is Sham Kund, and then he ordered the Goswamis to re-establish. So they dug it up, they expanded it, they made it into a more accessible kunda. So Krishna as Mahaprabhu once again establishes Radha Kund, and the service of Radha Kund was mostly done by Raghunath Goswami under the instructions of Mahaprabhu. Now, people who do not follow Mahaprabhu, they cannot appreciate Radha Kund, right? So just in terms of Vaishnava theology, that Radha Kund, the special position of Radha Kund is very, very specific to Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Mahaprabhu. Right? Whereas Vrindavan, Govardhan, they are appreciated by the other Vaishnava Sampradayas also, but not Radha Kund. Radha Kund is a place that is unique that has this special position only revealed by the Goswamis in the footsteps of Mahaprabhu, right? So even the Nimbarkis, who are exclusive followers of Srimati Radharani, right? Even they do not accept the position of Radhakund, primarily because they do not follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we as followers of Gaudiya Vaishnavas are fortunate that we have been given this confidential knowledge by Mahaprabhu's mercy, by mercy of Rupa Goswami and Srila Prabhupada, and we have this understanding of the position of Radha Kund. We can go there, take bath over there, or at least take the water and sprinkle it on ourselves. So the conclusion is that in the previous verse, Rupa Goswami spoke about the Raghunag Sadhana Bhakti. Here he is talking about how they can make more advancement. There he said that they should reside in Vraj. The question is, where in Vraj should they reside? Vraj is 84 krosas, like 168 square miles. Where in Vraj? So in order to give more specific instructions, in the Vraj, there is Mathura, good to live over there. There is Vrindavan, better to live over there. There is Govardhan, still better to live over there. And then there is Radhakund, best place to live there to make advancement. And again, residence does not mean that you build a house over there, like you build a build a hut over there and start living. Residence means that you reside in the mood of the place. Right? That's why, in a way, Srila Prabhupada was not very favorable for devotees in the early stage of sadhana to start living in Radhakund, because the fact that the place is so elevated, even small offenses can get magnified. And if one does not have that consciousness, then one cannot appreciate the purity of Radhakund. But the potential is there. Right? There are, even to this day, if you go to Radhakund, there are people who live there, do Nirjan Bhajan, live very, very simply over there, a very, very exalted personality. They're mostly, they don't preach so much. They're at that stage where they're relishing their own internal realizations, right? But they're over there. So advanced devotees prefer to reside to Radhakund because this place is the site of so many memories of the loving affairs between Krishna and Radharani. Prabhupada says it is Rati Vilas. So ultimately, Sri Rupa Goswami is directing the followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to perfect their spiritual life as followers of Srimati Radharani by residing in Radha Kund. So this is the sum and summary of verse 9. Okay, so we'll end over here. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna.